Hey there, everyone. Welcome to this little webinar taster thing, all about how to become the most magnetic version of you that you possibly can, to get epic results and get them now, or at least very soon, very quickly, right? Um, I'll introduce myself in just a second, but I wanted to make something very clear. What is this all about? This whole thing about like magneticness, magnetism. Please understand that you, as a human being, are a magnet, whether you like it or not. We attract more of what we are, right? Have you ever been into a room? We've all been through this situation, actually, where we go into something like a room where someone's just been fighting. Two people just been arguing and yelling and fighting with each other. And what happens is you can almost feel the tension, the heaviness, the negativity as you walk in. That's where the saying, "You could cut it like a knife, a hot knife through butter," right? That fantastic saying, that's where that comes from. Where you almost like have this energy that is very tangible and real. Okay, what is it that you're cutting through with that knife? Well, that is the energy that magnetizes like energy to it. In other words, whether you like it or not, you're already magnetizing to you more of what you are. So if that means that you are full of love and kindness and abundance, which means money also likes you, right? You're high energy, you're great at sales and you enjoy it. You have high respect and you command respect. You capture people's attention and you give due attention to others. You're great at connecting. That is what you will receive. There is no amount of physically faking those skills that will change the fact that people will energetically feel it as they walk into a room. And at the same time, if you're of the other side of the coin, where you're in shyness, in disbelief, in fear, in anger, your results are small and you feel small and you've got imposter syndrome and you just feel down, well, guess what? You attract more of that as well. And that is your choice. You're making a conscious proactive choice every day to show up attracting one of these two energies. So you are a magnet. What matters is what you do using that information. Okay, let me get into a little bit about me because I promised I would. My name is Seven. Yes, just like the number, I've got a funny name. And hopefully that makes it easy enough to remember. But a little bit about me. I'm one of your classic university dropouts who goes into business. I co founded an agency when I dropped out of university at the age of 20 ish to work with some of the biggest companies in the UK: Nike, Nando's, Sports Direct, Facebook, AKQA. And a whole bunch of others in between. And I really enjoyed it up until kind of COVID rolled around. And actually, at that point, I stopped enjoying it so much, anyways, but also COVID made it really challenging to do what we did. I pivoted or worked with a couple of other startups, both during, before, and after this process as well. One was a non for profit or a social good startup, and that failed for business model related reasons. And then the next was a fashion tech startup, which failed for team related reasons. For those of you who aren't familiar with this process, that basically means I have my badges of honor. I know what works and what doesn't from firsthand experience. I then went into community building and over the years built multiple communities, mostly of entrepreneurs, as I started working with entrepreneurs accredited in hypnosis as a performance coach, as well as a trainer, because that was actually my background pre that business and in that first business. Getting into public speaking, coaching, and training others to do these things. These were some of my favorite workshops to run. And I started building communities of entrepreneurs to help folks with that. Things like accelerator programs and events and multiple communities of 1 to 6,000 people, and would regularly run events, which are some of the pictures you'll see of me or of people I've worked with throughout my website are at some of these big events in front of, for example, the biggest screen in Europe. That's a fun fact that I like to throw around. But all of this stuff is stuff I've condensed into an 8-ish year career of yeah, and now just at a place where I was essentially realizing that I wasn't happy with the way these things were usually taught. I got really frustrated that these things would be siloed. The different things I was learning here would be siloed or taught in silos. So, for example, some of my students or coachees, some of my clients would maybe want some public speaking training, or a VC would talk to me about some kind of public speaking for their startups or something like that. But no one wanted to work on the internal unless people got really stuck. And then we're having like life coaching, performance coaching conversations, but they people can feel better and they show up to a space and guess what? Didn't have the physical communication skills, and so it came across robotic. And so now I'm someone who really believes in combining these together, that the most impactful leaders are the ones who do the internal work first. I have this principle that I call the internal external glass ceiling framework. Name pending, it might change because it's a little bit long, but essentially, that most people need to make incremental progress internally to make incremental progress externally. We need to build our skills, build our understanding. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, but what if you're getting in your own way? So we're not just working on skills or mindsets or abilities to show up. We're also working on how we feel, our state, our health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, physical health. As Robin Sharma likes to describe it, health set, heart set, mindset, and soul set, right? And I love this framework. So I'm really motivated to help folks change this, not just because I noticed people struggling with it, but because I noticed our world needing it now more than ever, right? Our world is going through a tough time. We all know that. You don't need me to say that to you. It needs more people who are showing up as their fullest, most impactful selves. You can't do that if you're stuck internally, if the way you see things, your mindset is unhelpful or unhealthy, or how you communicate is not working for you, if you're not effectively actually reaching the people around you. With so many of those entrepreneurs in my network, they wanted to do public speaking, selling, negotiation, have greater charisma, persuasion, confidence, courage. They want to take these things to the next level. And these are some of my favorite things to work on. So I thought, why not help people go through all these at once? And that's some of what we're going to go through today. Now, please understand, people respond to what is going on inside of you, even if you don't realize it. That's that whole thing about cutting the tension with a knife. People don't know, people unconsciously will react to the way that you are. You might not realize it, they might not realize it. But we've all gone into those rooms, or we've all met that person who just seems to magnetize people to them, right? We all know that person who's everyone's friend, everyone loves them, everyone can joke with them. Maybe they're attracting some of the greatest results in business or in their career. They're climbing the career ladder faster. Everyone likes them and they feel good and they look happy. What is that? Why can't I have more of that, right? We've all been through that, or so many of us have been through that. And if you're building something like a business, or you want to climb your career ladder faster, or you're building like an audience of some kind, a platform such as being a creator, an influencer on social media, anything that requires you to get in front of other people, a career like being a public speaker, anything that is high intensity and needs that charisma, that negotiation, that persuasion, that selling ability, well, guess what? Your greatest enemy is likely that within. There's a Native American proverb that I love that goes, there are two wolves inside of you fighting each other. One is good, one is evil. Which one will win? The one that you feed. People will notice if you're feeding your evil wolf or your good wolf. They will notice what part of you is showing up and they will respond, all without realizing that they're doing it, which makes it really challenging for you to catch it unless you're very, very honest with yourself. Please also understand that if you are a 10 out of 10, but you communicate at a 5 out of 10 or anything less, where do you think people will actually rate you? Do you think it's at the 10 out of 10 that you are? Maybe you think it's somewhere in between. You're like a 7.5 out of 10. But please understand that there's no way of knowing that you're a 10 out of 10 without you communicating it. Let's be very clear what communication is. Communication is the transference of an idea from one person to another. That is it. And that is all the facets that's underneath that. So that's not just me saying things to you. It's how I show it to you. It's that energy that you don't see. It's the way my body language carries and transmits information to you without either of us realizing that it's being done. All of this is communication. I call this being a 4D communicator, your whole communicator. I also loved developing and calling it the orchestra of you, because it's like an orchestra. All the pieces must work together in tandem. Your hands do one thing, your voice must follow. Your body language does another, your voice must follow. The words must flow effortlessly, right? It is like a beautiful musical wave. This is what you must be aware of, because as a result, people will pick that up and only that. People will never be able to read your mind. So people don't know how good you are. What if other people know and they say it on your behalf? Great, but what if they're not there? You must have the ability to communicate yourself effectively, fully, and honestly. We've all heard this saying that there are people out there with half of your skill and twice the amount of success that you're having, because they're simply better at communicating it or at bullshitting through it, right? Your responsibility, your job, and your proactive choice that you get the ability as a human being to make is to say, I'm going to do everything I can to fully communicate everything that I am. If you communicate at a 5 out of 10, people will think you're a 5 out of 10. Do not let them make that mistake. The money you want to make, the results you want to gain, the authority you want to have, the ability and the skills that you need to build, and most importantly, the version of you that you enjoy being the most, right? The fun, the journey that is life that you want to be on. All of this is locked behind overcoming the challenges in your way, often within, although both within and without, and building the skills to match. We're going to go through three elements that this takes place. So this is a bulk of the webinars. I really wanted to give you something practical to take away. The first thing we're going to work on now is your state. Make sure you have a good few minutes to work on this in case you need to pause and come back later. Make sure you've got maybe 5 or so minutes for this part. Your state, I want you to understand, this is the heart set element, the heart part of this, the first of the three parts of this, where please understand that any emotion, experience, which we call a state, that you are, that you have, that you feel, that you embody, is the energy you have right now that you give to other people, and you experience it too. So, for example, if you're about to go on a stage and do some public speaking, and you're really nervous, you're in a state of nervousness. That nervousness signals to your own body that you're not safe, and so you'll get in your own way. You're more likely to stumble over your words or forget them. Other people will feel it from you and will probably not enjoy your talk as much and will probably not take as much away. And so you're less likely to get the results of whatever the speech you're about to give is. Maybe the company hires you to come back. Maybe there are clients in the audience. How do you know? Well, you don't. That's why it's your duty to have the most helpful state as often as you can. So, what we're going to do is go through a little meditation slash practice that is going to induce one of these states and really help you feel what that is like. I've been speaking at you quickly because I don't want to make this too long, but now I'm going to slow down. So, please come with me along this journey. Because your unique experience will be whatever your unique experience is, it's unique to you. You're going through whatever, and I don't know what it is. You, for this moment, can choose the state you most want to get into. This could be calm, the example I just gave you. It could be confidence. It could be charisma, where you walk in charismatic. It could be focus, where for the rest of today, after you watch this video, you're going to be super focused on your work. It could be inspiration, intensity, any other energy you want to have, anything as long as it is positive and helpful to you. Choose what you're going to go through now. And now that you've chosen this, what I'd like you to do is get yourself super comfortable. Close your eyes and listen only to my voice. If you want to keep your eyes open and write the notes you're seeing on screen to do this for yourself later, please feel free, but I encourage you to at the very least experience this for yourself the first time. Take a deep breath in, fully in, filling the top and the bottom of your lungs. Hold it for a few moments and then fully breathe out. As you do, everything in your body is going to relax. Notice how the top of your head, the side of your head, your jaw, your neck, your shoulders all totally relax. Continuing to breathe as deeply as you can. Bring to mind a past experience that's associated with whatever state you chose. That could be a time that you were confident, if that's what you chose. A time where you were having fun, if you want more fun and humor in your life right now. A time where you were super calm, if you want something that helps you practice going on stage calmly. Whatever it is, in this blank space in your mind, remember this time that most prominently reminds you of this state, of this experience. Still breathing deeply, your deep breath, you notice, mirrors the way you were feeling at that time. Whether it's faster or slower, stronger or shallower. And notice the tingling sensation in your body as this starts to happen. Fully experience what it was like to go through this in all 5 of your senses. Firstly, what are you seeing in this scenario where you're feeling this state really, really strongly? Notice all the little details you see and how it makes you feel that state more deeply than you were just a moment ago. What are you feeling or tasting around you? Maybe nothing. Maybe you're super, super chilled out. You feel nothing. You're not eating anything, but really take yourself back to it. What was the feeling in your mouth? What was the feeling on your skin and your hands and your feet? Are you sitting or standing? Notice these details and what you feel all around you, and notice how this brings you even more deeply into this increasingly powerful state. Next up, what are you hearing? The sounds or silences that make up this experience, that remind you even more strongly of being here. And notice your body language start to shift to match even more greatly, even more accurately, the energy you had in this last time. That very, very deep sense of whatever state you chose washes over you like a wave. From the tippy top of your head all the way down your body, through your head, your shoulders, your arms, your hands, your torso, your legs, and your feet. The entire body, and even the energy around you, like you've got an energy field invisible to the naked eye that's around your body, even that is experiencing the emotion, the experience, the state that you're recalling right now. Every part of your being is experiencing this. And now, when this is as strong as it's ever been, even more deeply than you've ever experienced before, really sit with this feeling of this state and enjoy it. Fully experience what it was like in all of these senses and stay in this place for as long as possible. Continue breathing deeply, noticing that state, that experience, that emotion, and all the beautiful lightness and energy and all the feelings you want to have that this is giving you in every cell of your body and every part of your breath, filling up with your lungs as you breathe in and letting go of anything you don't want, any tension or unhelpful feelings as you breathe out. I recommend staying in this state, breathing into this, meditating in this for as long as you can. I'll give you another 30 seconds here, and if you want to pause, you may pause to stay in this state longer. All right, and having really felt this deeply, let it be fully encoded. Direct, instruct, command, compel, encode this feeling into every inch of your body and your nervous system, enjoying that fully. And then clear your mind over the next few seconds. And as I count backwards to 1, if your eyes are still closed, you will slowly open them to come back with me into this room and into this webinar. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, welcome back to those of you who are only opening your eyes now, and I hope you enjoyed that experience. We're going to do one more thing to add to it. Now that you're back in the room with me, taking this deep breath, I want you to get up. I'm already standing up. Okay, I've got a standing desk. I very much enjoy it, but stand up if you're not standing up. And embody how that version of you feels standing here right now, right? Raise your arms up, taking good deep breaths, let all the cortisol go down, let yourself stretch, let yourself really physiologically feel loose and open and free. And as you do, bring in more of the energy that you just experienced that you want to let it really encode itself into your body, into your mind, into your heart, into your soul. That calm, that confidence, that courage, that focus, that inspiration, that energy that you most want to have. Notice how your shoulders might change, how your head gets held, where your hands are, how open you are. This is the you that you can be more of whenever you want as a result of your state. This is probably the longest part of this webinar today. I hope you've enjoyed that because this is something that you can do whenever you want. Whatever state you want to have, whatever you want to feel, you can simply recall a time where this was really strong in your life and come back to it whenever you want to. This is the first of the 3 parts of being magnetic. Because when your state is fantastic, people feel it, right? Notice how you feel right now. By the way, you can sit back down if you're still standing up. Notice how you feel right now, right? How epic that is. Imagine someone else is feeling that, right? They have this smile on your face you might have now. They have this really interesting, encouraging, like body language. How could you see that and not be inspired? So that's your goal, is to be as like that as you can be as often as you can, and you start to become more magnetic. However, this needs to be backed up by the second part of this, your mind, your mindset, what's going on in your mind. For this, we're going to keep it more simple and ask a few questions. First of all, I want you to consider, how do you think the world works? How does the world work? That's a big question, right? Well, you know what? It actually can be boiled down to just a few things. This is essentially the rest of these questions. How do you relate to other people because of the way you think they work? What patterns are you in, right? Are you in some kind of negative, unhelpful pattern? Do you say BS, negative, destructive things to yourself regularly? Are there other people in your life that have power over you? And how do you deal with those people? Would you consider yourself more optimistic or pessimistic? The reason I love these questions are because in the magnetic presence course that I've put together, what I start by doing is going through the mindset shifts that make everything else we do stick. For example, there's a concept, and there's you can't actually see it in my camera because of the way I've tilted it. But up behind me, there's a bookshelf. There's a beautiful book on there by Simon Sinek called The Infinite Game. One of the first things we do is go through the infinite game in more detail. Okay, what's the infinite game? Well, please understand this. Everything in life, everything is a game. There are 2 different types of game. Finite games, which are things like sports, where there's a fixed endpoint, there are rules that everyone agrees to, and there are penalties if those rules are broken. That's a finite game. Anything that isn't a finite game, anything at all, is an infinite game. A game that goes on forever, that doesn't have a fixed endpoint, that only ends when you quit or you can't play anymore. For example, in a business, which is an infinite game, you keep going until the business is either bankrupt or you quit, you exit, which could be a good thing, by the way. Maybe you sell the business. Great. The infinite game keeps going until then. So if everything that isn't a finite game is an infinite game, life too, therefore, is an infinite game. This is my most enjoyable realization to share with people, especially with first time entrepreneurs or people a bit less experienced, where we all think that there are ways you should do things, and it's like no. Whatever gets you the result you most want, as long as it's not amoral or unethical or illegal, should be the way that you go about seeing things. The result, right? And the purpose you have that makes the result worthwhile, that is what you aim to achieve. And that is it. Anything else is you potentially putting limitations on yourself. When you understand that, you can understand things like Robert Greene's laws of power, which is another thing that we cover, the laws of power, how to relate to other people, how to protect yourself from manipulation, and how to understand the psychology and neurology of how we relate to other people so that you can build better relationships on stronger foundations, so that you can remain as optimistic or as realistically optimistic, is the way I like to say it, as opposed to getting in your own way by being accidentally or unconsciously pessimistic or cynical. These mindset shifts can make a radical difference because let's say you're trying to inspire people, but you think the world is a hard, horrible place where people are just kind of full of themselves and there's no point in doing anything. Do you think you're going to climb your career ladder? Do you think you're going to make sales in your business? Do you think you're going to inspire an audience into action? Probably not. So the way you see everything changes the way you do everything and the way everyone else experiences you. And so this leads us on to our third piece for today, which is your ability, your skill sets. Okay, so because this is primarily a speaking and communication course, I want you to stand back up again if you sat down, or stay standing if you're if you're stood up already from earlier, and imagine you're giving a speech or a presentation or a pitch. A bit like how we cleared our minds, went back to the scenario, we're going to keep it faster for the sake of time right now, but imagine in your mind's eye that you're standing up and you're doing this. Whatever is most relevant for you, the presentation, the pitch, whatever is most relevant. Notice how you would normally react and feel. Maybe you can embody the way you normally did or what you did last time, or maybe the way you see yourself as if you were a third person. So imagine, almost put yourself in the audience looking on at the way you performed last time. Okay, there's a few things I want you to notice. And to notice these things, we're going to go through what I like to call the 55-38-7 rule. I think it's called the Mehabaran rule. I might be mispronouncing his name, but the person who came up with this somewhat contentious, but theoretically in principle still really useful rule. And what this essentially found is that your body language is 55% of what people notice. So remember that whole thing about like whole communication, the orchestra of you. There's another saying that I love. The biggest myth in communications is that communication has taken place. Why is that the case? Because communication takes place in multiple forms, multiple layers, in parallel dimensions, all at the same time. And so much of it's unconscious. And the largest one is your body language, the way your shoulders are, where you're looking. Because this is on camera and my camera is like a little bit funky, right? Is not a great representation. I'm going to awkwardly move this in the middle of a recording, right? Because like even doing this online, the way that you kind of perceive it, the way that like you see me, I see you, the way we relate to each other, which is also why everything I do when I do this kind of training is all in person, is because all of this comes across a certain way when that energy, that in person, that full body language is being picked up. Where are your feet? Where are your hips? Where are your hands? These things are all really important. I don't have time to go into all of the details because there's so many bits of important body language here. But when you put these things together, they become really, really important. Um, the second thing is your tone of voice. There's a typo on here. It says one of voice. Sorry, my bad. Marginally not paying attention and typing that too quickly. Your tone of voice is the way that you speak such that you don't sound like a robot, basically, right? Your monotonousness or your opposite of monotonousness, the word's escaping me now. The way that your voice rises and falls and it kind of attracts people in. And for this, I actually like to bring in the hypnosis techniques that I use to get people's attention and get their heads to turn. When things are silent and your voice commands attention and everyone turns to look at you, that's what you want when you walk in anywhere, that you want charisma, that you want presence, that you want powerful results. The last piece, 7% of what people actually pay attention to is the specific words that you say. Obviously, there are specific situations where that's obviously not going to be the case, right? If you're a startup pitching to an investor, they're going to be very focused on your content, okay? At least they should if they're any good. And despite that, though, people are so taken by those who can effectively sell, who can effectively pitch, who can really enjoy what they're doing, and who have this great magnetism that the specific words themselves are the least noticeable. So, people, for example, when they do public speaking, they're terrified of messing up their words. But actually, if you do it just a little bit and you just move on and pretend it didn't happen, people always just allow it. They don't care. They don't judge because they're still following through. They're more interested in connecting with you almost neurologically speaking, right? Understand this, that when you communicate, especially in a place where there's a stage and a bigger audience, people start to pick up your feelings and the experiences of you and connect with you in rhythm, in lockstep almost. So your breathing and the way you breathe, and I like just took a big deep breath to like get that feeling. You will match other people's breathing. The ideas in your head will be matched by other people. The emotions you have are matched by the audience. This is because we have something in our heads called mirror neurons, where we mirror the way other people are. And when someone is put on a stage or a pedestal of some kind, all the attention goes on them. This gets magnified. So, the way to ensure you're doing your best with this is to keep some simple tips in mind. There's an enormous number of things, but for the sake of time, overrunning very slightly here. There is some of the biggest ones I've written down here are the things that I think you need to keep in mind most. Simple tips: keep your shoulders and your body language up and open, right? You never want to be hunched and closed like this, for those of you who are seeing the video. You want to be open and standing powerfully and tall. And if you need examples, think about anyone that you think is standing confidently. Think about someone that you know is unconfident. Just compare the two, right? It's the easiest thing you can do. I want to look more like example A. Um, some other simple things: don't block your face or your chest with your hands. Your hands should move around and gesticulate, and actually doing it as much as possible. There are a lot of caveats to that, but as much as possible, really loosely, is great as long as they're not here. Again, for those watching the video, I'm kind of covering my face, or like here, covering your chest. What you want to be is as open as possible. Your kind of palm of your hands towards the audience. That signals to the audience like safety, and they're more likely to connect and feel comfortable. Do something that I'm not doing enough of in this little webinar for the sake of time, which is speaking more slowly, taking pauses. When someone takes their time on a stage, on a magnified stage environment, whether you're teaching someone like I am right this second or not, whether you're giving an inspirational speech, regardless of the setting, it shows that you're in control and it keeps people hanging on your every word. You knew what I was going to say. I'm just being pedantic, but you get my point. Final thing is, be very wary of the way you stand and where you're standing, walking. Do you look grounded? Are you walking around? By the way, you can walk around or you can stand still as long as you look grounded and open. Open means your feet need to be pointed a little more outwards as opposed to more inwards because that signals openness. And again, you can walk around a stage a little bit as long as you're doing it confidently and looking like you're grounded. Adding these things together, keeping in mind your tone of voice is super useful, is super important, that what you say, while it is still important, must match these other things. That's really the takeaway of understanding that spoken words are so little part of this. As long as all of this matches, you look what we call being congruent. Congruency is what you're aiming for, looking like you're one big harmonious orchestra. And that pretty much concludes what I wanted to go through for this section of this. These are your three big pillars today, right? Your heart set, your mindset, and your skill set. Putting these together, you become, well, a few different things. So what you feel is incredible, right? When you feel incredible, you feel confident, courageous, humorous, fun, calm, focused, energized, inspirational, whatever you feel, and you think clearly, right? You understand how the world really works, how people really work, and you treat people the best way you can to get the results you most want, most deserve, that's most win-win for everyone. And you layer the third part where you're acting powerfully. You know how to use your body and your language effectively, use your voice, command attention, and attune to other people's hearts and minds. You get these three layers together, you create magnetic presence. And so this is why what I've put together is called magnetic presence, this 4-day intensive magnetic presence. You see, presence means getting people's heads to turn whenever you're there. Their heads to turn when you walk in, or their eyes to look at you whenever you speak. It means closing more deals, making more friends, building a stronger network because people will love you and want to be around you. It means closing. It means that lovely handshake there. It also means that while you're doing it all, you feel confident. You feel like your strongest self with this fantastic posture and enjoying every moment. This is what presence is, really being there in the moment with all the positive experiences that get you all the results you most want. Let's be specific about some of those results, though. The speaking and the influence you have is magnetic, attracting to you more of what you do want and none of what you don't. Where you can play around with storytelling, persuasion, and vocal authority, where you speak with clarity, conviction, and this like magnetic presence that just draws other people and everything you could do with them to you, where you can rewire, unlearn, and relearn, deframe, reframe any self doubt or negative, unhelpful emotions that you have, and therefore have the space to build unshakable confidence. Where the kind of things that we would do on this course, for example, are the mindset techniques that top performers use to overcome things like fear and self doubt and create the most powerful states that you can stay in whenever you want, handling high pressure situations with ease, handling anything unexpected or any challenges that come up, right? Life will always throw challenges your way. These tests become so much more easy to pass with flying colors when you can respond effortlessly and habitually in a positive way. These like high stakes communication skills, right? When you're on a stage, or maybe you're a business and you're pitching to investors or to customers trying to make that money, you want to influence others effectively, speaking persuasively, the sales, that's networking. Anything that's negotiation is a really important part, actually, not letting people just take you for a ride regardless of where you are in your work or your life, right? Developing these really powerful skills. And finally, all of this has a big impact on your leadership. When you're someone leading another team, or even just a self leader over your own life, stepping into every conversation, every pitch, every negotiation, every team meeting, every interview, every piece of content that you create, especially if you're trying to become a personal brand, right? This real world application, these real world skills, they don't fade when any of the work that we do together, or whenever you've learned them, whenever that work ends, because they become ingrained within you, especially if you do them right. If you do them not great, it's actually still pretty good, because these are things that are very fundamental to human nature. If you do them right, though, it will change your life. This kind of thing and the work that I do with people, the magnetic presence course that I've developed, works best for entrepreneurs and founders of high growth businesses who need to pitch and sell and lead their businesses effectively. Now, this is my primary experience and market. These like startups, SMEs, maybe people who have raised some funding or people who are making a decent amount of money in turnover, and they're noticing that they're getting to this place where they're a little bit stuck, where the competition is higher, where most businesses don't break out of this like really low initial threshold, right? Many businesses never get off the ground. Then there's a chunk that go okay. And then there's another drop off point after that to get to real high levels of success where people are either stuck within or without, and often, as we've been through, some combination of both. However, this shows up in a couple other really important places too that this course I put together is really targeted for. This program works really well for business executives and managers who want to communicate persuasively, elevate themselves more quickly than usual in the workplace, build trust in those teams and in colleagues so that they can get better results, lead those teams better, have the teams create more results, and do it faster. I've some of my favorite stories are of people who showed up with low energy and didn't really know what they were doing in their companies, and then maybe they lead a team where they get promoted to manager, and they're like, "Oh, I don't actually know how to manage these people, how to relate to them, how to understand them." And sales start to dip. And then they work on these skills, and guess what? You don't just feel better. The team doesn't just like you more. It turns into tangible results. More sales made, more team cohesion, and all of this stuff stems from the fact that we as human beings, when we relate to each other, we work through these things like this, what we do is we come up with creative solutions. We don't feel bad about communicating challenges that come up. When we feel communicated with, we want to communicate back to the person who communicated with us. And so everything within a team, trust building, results, communication, all flows so much more effortlessly. But of course, we're living in the time of content creation, which means that there are folks who want to deliver TEDx talks, people who want to build personal brands online, who want to speak in front of cameras more powerfully. If you want to captivate audiences and build a platform or audience that changes your life or your business or your work in some way, shape, or form, this is also for you. So, in conclusion, whether you're pitching to investors, leading a team, or stepping onto a stage, this will help you own your presence and speak with the power to lead with conviction. This is the Magnetic Presence Program to speak, sell, and lead with unstoppable confidence. So, just to break down what this program is, it's a 4-day intensive in London, in the UK, where you get 4 full days. Yes, that's 4 straight back to back days that you will have to block out 9 to 5:30 of in person group coaching to work through 20 million times more than what we've covered today. And this also means dedicated support to target exactly the things that you need, right? Because I limit our cohorts to up to 12 people maximum, which means that there's enough space. There's enough people for you to get each other's support, but enough space that I can tailor things to you personally. And so you get a little bit of personalization the way you would with normal coaching. Now, over the course of these days, you're getting over 30 hours, it's closer to 35 hours of live training, which breaks down to about 10% of my normal cost. So you're getting a lot. And you also get a few extra goodies or things along with this. We go through practical meditations, visualizations, techniques, resources that you can use for yourself after this is done. So you don't need me to keep holding your hand. And actually, to be honest, you've gone through such a radical change at that point that you might not need them anyways. It's always nice to have practices you can come back to remind yourself, but you get the point. I also love developing AI tools or things like that that help us deepen our exploration. And I've developed several that you'll get to use before, during, and after the program, complementary as a part of this, to not only help further your journey, but to compare where you were at the beginning and the end. Of course, we do lots of recordings. So we record you a whole bunch. This doesn't go public. Don't worry. This is for your own usage so that you can compare the before and after and use these to practice. We also, because we're a part of a cohort, right? You'll have 11 other people around you who are as high intensity, who are as committed to their development and their success as you are. You know what they say about the five closest people to you, right? So being surrounded by this high intensity group of like minded folks, you push yourselves even further, and this continues forever, theoretically forever. So you don't just have the energy of the cohort around you, you also have the ongoing support and the ongoing connections and network of these really elevated people to remain friends and business associates and whatever other things you manage to develop with these people you build these relationships with. So you get ongoing support from each other and from me, which is to say everyone who comes onto the program gets an extra personalized one-to-one coaching session after completion. My normal coaching sessions last up to 90 minutes and they go for about 350 pounds. What this does is that by throwing in a complimentary session, a little bit shorter than the usual one, an extra hour, we can kind of tie up everything for you in a nice little bow. And like I said, everything is personalized to you at least as much as we can be, which means you have your own specific strategy to you based on your goals, your needs, and your greatest pain points so that things will look different for everyone based on what you need the most. What is your investment? Because that is what this is. This is an investment. You're getting over 3,000 pounds worth of training. And to be honest with you, that's kind of false because when you look at that price of the coaching, the way I just broke it down, it's really even double that. You're getting about double of the value of what's on here for about a third of the cost. You're getting also far more of my time and of my condensed experience into something intensive than I've ever released before. You're getting a lot more for a lot less. You're also, please be aware, investing your time. So yes, the cost is 795, which is a steal instead of being five figures, which is what this is worth. If I work with someone directly on this, it's three figures. You also need to invest your time. It's one of the reasons why this works so well is because you need to block out 4 straight days so that you are prepared to be a different person when you walk into the course compared to when you walk out at the end of the week. Which is to say that this isn't a course or a program, it's a transformation. It's one that because of what you're building, right, the things that make you more influence and therefore make you more money, pays for itself over and over and over again in the way that you sell, the way you lead, the way you command respect and authority for the rest of your career. That, of course, means that this isn't for everyone. It's not for you if you can't carve out 4 full days to change your life. I've worked with some people who, there's excuses after excuses of how you just can't make the time. And unfortunately, most people don't realize that they would save far more time if they prioritized differently. If you just cannot get over the ability to put things aside, you can't put in the extra hours. Maybe instead of working from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on your business, you're now working from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. because you had to cram things in. So once you get home, or something like that, right? Look, life's tough. If you want serious results, you need to act seriously and you need to invest in yourself in both time and money. If you can't do that, this isn't right for you. Of course, if you feel like you don't need different results, the money, the deals, the business, the connections, the audience building, then this obviously isn't right for you. This is intensive for a reason. It's for intense results. So, what is next? If this sounds like you, what's next? Um, you're not making any commitment by taking the next step. It's really so we can both explore. This is an application process only, and again, there's a limited number of slots, up to 12 people only. So a dozen people might make it onto this program. By applying, you're giving me more information about you, and you're also going through a process where you understand if this is actually right for you. Once I see your application come through, then and only then will we have a call to see if this is actually valuable for you and is the right fit for us to be working together on this specific program. Only if we're both happy and there are spaces left available on the program will I begin to onboard you onto this program. You can apply using the links down below or scan this QR code that's right in front of you. But essentially, that is it. As for the dates of this program, take a look at the page around wherever you're seeing this video or the links below it, because there should be more details there. And that pretty much brings me to the end of this webinar. There's one more thing that I really want to share with you. I've been rushing this a little bit and speaking faster than I usually like to because I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I really want to give you this one final message before I end off, which is if this isn't right for you, or if this is right for you, and you're just not 100% sure yet, regardless of where you at the end of this webinar, you're here because you know you need to make a change, right? No one has gone through 50 minutes of trainings and explorations and explanations and proverbs and quotes and all the other stuff I like throwing around as a philosophizing kind of trainer and speaker. Um, if you're here, you only will have done it and gone through all of that and received all of that because you want to make a change. If you feel like you can't invest right this second, that's understandable. But don't sit around and do nothing. If you're here, it's because this is a sign for you to do something. If this course isn't right for you, but you want to make this change, fine. If this course is right for you, drop an application. If you're not sure, still drop an application because, like I said, you're not actually making a commitment yet by applying. If you know you can't yet invest into this, but you want this transformation, then save it for later and go do something. Do not wait around to build the best life that you want. That is the most important thing. Whatever you take away from this, it must be action. Regardless of what you get from this, it must be to act, to go do the thing, to be the person you most want to be, to learn the stuff, to do the courageous, hard things so that you can embody with agency everything that you want to be, to take that future you into your own hands. Please, if you're here, it's because a change needs to be made. It's because growth needs to happen. So just go do something, anything to make that growth happen. It's going to be a challenge. It is a journey, but I believe in you because you wouldn't have made it here if you didn't believe in you. And that's enough for me to get started with. So, look, thank you so much for taking these messages, for taking this time, for going through this training. I hope you learned some interesting stuff today and were able to apply them to your own life. And I'm really excited to hopefully hear from some of you through the applications very soon. Have a great one and speak to you soon. Bye bye.